Okay, so in this particular case, I've collected a bunch of data, and that's listed here in this column. In order for me to calculate the range of my data, I'm going to enter an equal sign. That tells me that I'm going to use a function. So the range is just the maximum value in my data, back the minimum value. My mean in spreadsheets, they just use the word average. Median is just median. I'll let the data that I want to calculate the median for. My mode. I sum, if I might want to sum this for some reason. A standard deviation, if it's a population, I standard deviation A, that's of a sample. Standard deviation P is for a population. That's my standard deviation for a sample. Standard deviation of an entire population. Of a sample. For a sample. So if this data represented a sample, that would be the formula I would use. Let's imagine I wanted a frequency table. Supposing I wanted frequencies, and I know my numbers are 12 through 20, I think. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So what I can do is I can say this is equal to, I want the frequency formula. I choose the data that I want to analyze, and I want to break it up into these groupings. So I've got two 12s. What did I'm not sure what that 0 is at the end. But notice if I change that number 18, I must have 4 of those. If I change that to a 20, that updates everything got updated. My standard, my populations, my modes, my medians. So that's what's kind of cool with these frequencies. Or with the formulas, it always updates itself. If I wanted to do a range of frequencies, then what I could do, whoops. I was looking at between 10 to 12, and then sort of 12.1 to 14. 12.1 to 14, 14.1 to 16, 16.1 to 18, and then 18.1 to 20. Those were my ranges. What I really need to do is I need to set up some information over here. I'm going to say what I'm looking for actually is all values below 12, and then all values below 16 but are higher than 12. Values below 14, and then values below 16, 18. It's below or including 18, below or equal 20. So the computer needs this information. It automatically says, oh, if I'm doing it for 20, I'm going between the value 18 to 20. For here, it's going to be anything below 12. So I know that all my data is my lowest value is a 10. So really, that's going to effectively be my interval of 10 to 12. But what I can say now here is equal to frequency of my data. And then my intervals are below 12, 12 to 14, 14 to 16, 16 to 18, 18 to 20. And so it says I've got 2 values below 12, 4 values in the range of 14 to 16, 6 values in the range of 16 to 18. And again, if I change this value 17 to 19, now I've got 5 values between 16 and 18 and 1 value in the 20. It occurred to me I might also want to know the minimum value in my data. So that's just equal to min. It's equal to min bracket. And I might want my maximum value, and that's equal to max of my data. And we might also want to do our z-score. So I don't think there's a built-in z-score calculator, but I do know the formula for z-score. So if this was going to be my z-scores here, z-scores are equal to my x value, subtract my mean. That's going to be in brackets because that whole thing is being divided by my standard deviation. So I'm taking my formula says, if I just hit enter. So what that is it says, oops, I have to say divided by my standard deviation. So it says A2, that's my x value, subtract D3, which is my mean, and divide it by my standard deviation. That will tell me the z-score for data value 18. Now, I don't have to do that every single time. What I want to do is I want to copy this value down. There's going to be an error at the moment. The reason for that, I'm going to copy down just one thing. What I've just done now is if I look at this, the formula this is, it says it's A3, that x value, that's what I wanted, subtract D4. D4 is now my median, but I should be subtracting the mean. It's because I've copied the formula down one cell down, it's now using that value one cell down, and I don't want that. I want my x values to go down, but my mean's got to stay solid, and my standard deviation has got to stay the same. So what I do instead, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to come in here and I say it's equal to A2. I want that to change, but my D3 I want to lock it in place. So I'm going to put in front of the 3. I don't want the numbers to change. I want it to always stay D3. And when I'm dividing it by my standard deviation, I want to divide it by my $sign. That $sign locks the number 7 in place, so I'm always dividing by D3. When I hit enter now, I can now copy this formula down, and that's calculated my z-scores in each case. And notice that if I now look at this, it's still D3 and D7. Down here, it's still D3 and D7, but it's using the z-score for my x value of 17, which is A8. The other option would be to, I could say it's equal to my bracket, that value, x, subtract, and I could say my mean is 16.17, and then divide it by, I could put the actual value of my standard deviation, 2.15. I could do that. The downside with that is if I did ever make a change to my values, suppose my data had to be changed, my mean has just changed, my standard deviation has just changed, but my z-score didn't because I was using the old value there as opposed to making a reference to the cell. So generally speaking, it's better to use formulas, but if that's too complicated, you can just use the values.